Hey everybody, this is GGB, co-host Puppers, and here's my special guest, my father. He's been in one episode before. He was in the quarterback predictions video from, I guess, 2 years ago now.
How did I do?
You did not well. You told me that it was ridiculous that Brady would go to Tampa Bay. Did not age well. But today we're going to be doing our NFL playoff picks. I'm going to do my first 7 for the NFC, and then he's going to do the next 7 for the NFC, and then I'm going to do my 7 for the AFC, his 7 for the AFC. So let's get started. My number 1 seed in the NFC is going to be the LA Rams. I think the LA Rams are going to do phenomenally well this year with Matthew Stafford. I'm a little bit worried about their run game with no Cam Akers, but I think a healthy run game with Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson Jr. is going to do fine. They have some really great targets in Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, and they have the best defensive player in the entire NFL in Aaron Donald. And I understand they play in a really tough division. You got 4 teams that could easily make the playoffs this year in the NFC West. But for some reason, I feel like the Rams have a chance to win the Super Bowl this year. That's how high I am on the Rams. I think Matthew Stafford is not only a top 10 quarterback, in my eyes, I think he's the 6th best quarterback in the NFL, just in my opinion. Co-host Puppers, calm down. You're purposely making her angry. So for the 2 seed in the NFC, in my eyes, it is going to end up being the Green Bay Packers. I just don't see any way around it. You bring Aaron Rodgers back, who was the MVP last year. You suck. You get Aaron Jones at running back, who's one of the best running backs in the NFL, and also I believe A.J. Dillon's going to be involved. I've loved A.J. Dillon coming out of college, and you got Hill. I love Kylan Hill, and I think he's going to do great in the NFL as a passing back. They're going to have a very good 3 running backs on that team. And then you got Devontae Adams, you got Randall Cobb back, you got Marquez Valdes-Scantling, you got Alan Lazard. You have some pretty good targets for Aaron Rodgers this year. And you got Robert Tonyan. Honestly, if there was a year the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl, it should be this year. I mean, after this year, you're probably not going to have Aaron Rodgers. You're probably not going to have Devontae Adams. You're going to be not great. So this is like a win the Super Bowl or bust year if you're the Packers. It's got to be Super Bowl, and I think they're the 2nd best team in the NFC, in my opinion. The number 3 seed, in my opinion, is going to end up being the Washington football team, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to
I actually forgot to mention this in the video, so I'm doing this after the fact. But some cool stats I learned from the NFC East. There has not been a repeat champion since I was 1 year old. iPhones hadn't come out yet. And Andy Reid was the head coach of the Eagles that year. Anyways, back to the video.
Awesome. I mean, I just love the team overall. You got Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback, who's, I don't know if he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but he's definitely an improvement over what they had last year. If you look at the stats, they had the 32nd best quarterback rating of the entire NFL, of all the NFL teams, which means of quarterback ratings, they had the worst quarterback play last year. I mean, it makes sense that they started 4 different quarterbacks throughout the year, so it would make sense that they would not have the best quarterback. But you get Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's been way more Fitzmagic than Fitztragic in Miami. He was very solid. He has not had that many turnovers that his career is known for. He's been extremely good in Miami. Everyone kind of underrating him, if I'm going to be honest. You got Antonio Gibson in the backfield. You got J.D. McKissick, and you got a Jarrett Patterson, a guy I love that coming out of Buffalo. At wide receiver, you got Terry. Obviously, Scary Terry. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL, top 10 for sure. Yeah, Curtis Samuel's definitely going to be a threat through the air. Adam Humphries has great connection with Ryan Fitzpatrick. You got the rookie De'Ami Brown. And, I mean, that's a lot of targets for Ryan Fitzpatrick to throw to. Not to mention tight end Logan Thomas, who was he's a top 10 tight end in the league right now. Great player. The offensive line worries me a bit. They let up, I think, the 2nd most sacks in the entire NFL last year. So I'm a little bit worried about the offensive line, but the defense is going to be obviously something special with Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Matthew Ioannidis, Tim Settle, Cole Holcomb, Jamin Davis, John Bostic, Landon Collins, William Jackson III, Kendall Fuller, and Cameron Curl. I mean, that defense is full of players that I think could be Pro Bowl players this year. So I think Washington's going to end up with a 3 seed, 4 seed. In my eyes, I got my New Orleans Saints. I got to go with my home team, guys. I love the Saints, and honestly, I understand why people are picking the Bucs to win the division. I understand that. But I feel like I have too much confidence in my Saints. Plus, if you look in the past couple of years, like past 5-6 years, whoever wins the NFC almost never wins their division the next year. You can go all the way back to the Panthers. The year they won it, they didn't win the division. Then the Falcons won it, they didn't win the division. Look at then Eagles, they didn't win the division. Then their next year, the Niners didn't win the division this year. So I mean, like there is a trend of or the Rams too. When Jared Goff was their quarterback and they went all the way to the Super Bowl, they didn't win their division the next year. There is a trend in the NFC. If you win the NFC, you normally do not win your division the next year. And I don't know how it's going to happen with Tampa Bay. I think maybe, possibly, I'm not wishing it on him, but Tom Brady could get hurt this year. And if that happens, then there is absolutely no one, like none of their quarterbacks can win enough games for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They don't have a good enough team for that. Jameis Winston, on the other hand, has the possibility of being phenomenal with the Saints and Sean Payton. He gets Alvin Kamara to throw to out of the backfield. I was going to say Latavius Murray, but before, like a day before I was going to make this video, he got cut, so that's interesting for me. But yes, until Michael Thomas gets back, you have a pretty good receiving core, in my opinion, with Marquez Callaway. You got Traquan Smith. You got Deontay Harris. I'm a huge fan of Lil Jordan Humphrey. And then at tight end, I think there's some exciting players. You got Adam Troutman. He's a young guy that I think could be really good this year. Juwan Johnson, a Penn Stater, transferred to Oregon and transferred from wide receiver to tight end in this time with the Saints, and he is an explosive player. And then you got one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, and then not to mention the defense is set to be one of the best, I think top to 5 defense in the NFL this year. You got one of the best defensive lines and best pass rushing tandem in Cam Jordan and Marcus Davenport. Then you got some really good linebacker play, obviously, with Demario Davis and Quan Alexander. You have one of the best corners in the entire NFL in Marshawn Lattimore, and then you have one of the best safeties in Marcus Williams. So, I mean, like, this team is poised to still be a playoff contender this year. I'm going to put my wild card teams real quick. My wild card, in my opinion, is going to be number 5 is going to be the Seahawks. I think the Hawks are going to have a very good team this year. I think Russ is going to have to carry them to a lot of wins. If Chris Carson and Rashad Penny go down during the year, which it happens almost every single year, I don't know what's going to happen with the running game. But obviously Russell Wilson is a top 5 quarterback in this league. He is dominant. And I don't see how he doesn't get the Seahawks to the playoffs this year. And I just think they're going to be the 5 seed. The 6 seed, in my opinion, is going to be the New York Giants. Now, hear me out here. You have Joe Judge. He's one of my favorite head coaches in the entire NFL. The guy had the Giants playing insanely well at the end of last year, and they might have made the playoffs if the Eagles didn't throw the last game of the year. Daniel Jones, I think, has been steadily improving every year, and I think he could have a Josh Allen like breakout year in his 3rd year. You bring back Saquon Barkley, who's one of the most dynamic running backs in the entire NFL. You got some really good wide receivers in Sterling Shepard, Kenny Galladay, and Darius Slayton, and then you got tight ends in Evan Ingram and Kyle Rudolph. If you can get some average offensive line play, the defense is going to be solid. We know that Joe Judge does that extremely well. If you can just get some average line play, this team's a playoff contender. I seriously do believe that. I think this team could go far under Joe Judge, and I love the Giants this year. Give me the Giants as the 6th seed. And then finally, my 7th seed, I was going back and forth this for a long time. I had 2 teams that I was really thinking about picking. I was thinking either picking the Vikings or the Cardinals, and I was going back and forth, but I ended up going with the high upside Cardinals. I think you got Kyler Murray, who's obviously going to lead an explosive offense, but not only that, you're going to have DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Green, Christian Kirk. There's other receivers that are really good. Andy Isabella. The Cardinals' receiving core is insane if you look at it. And then the running back room, I don't know if it's going to be awesome, but you got Chase Edmonds and James Conner. They're both sturdy backs in the NFL. They're fine. I don't think it's going to light anyone up this year, but I think they'll be okay. The defense should be awesome. You got J.J. Watt back. You got Chandler Jones. You drafted a linebacker in the first round named Zaven Collins. Last year was Isaiah Simmons. You should have a great linebacker core. I mean, this Cardinals team should be a playoff team. Now, Cliff Kingsbury by himself, I don't love Cliff Kingsbury, and I think he should lose them a couple of games, which is why I have them as a 7th seed and not higher. But I think this NFC is really strong this year. And now it's your turn.
Number 1 seed is going to be Seattle.
Wow.
They're just good. They're going to be good. Russ knows how to play the game. Let's see here. 2, I'm going to go with my Redskins because they're in a sucky division, and they're probably going to get a bunch of freebies. Let's see here. 3, we'll go with Packers. I think that's what you had them, right?
I had them as the 2 seed.
Aaron Rodgers is very good. I'm going to give him that. 4 seed would be. I'm going to go with the Saints.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Go Saints! Who dat?
I feel obligated since you love them
Since
so
I'm
much.
right next to you.
Let's see here. So I have 3 more. 5. I'll say the 5th seed's going to be San Francisco. I like them. They're a good team. I'm surprised they didn't make your playoffs.
Yeah. Well.
Let's see here. So 2 more, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Vikings in the 6th seed and Tampa Bay in the 7th.
Wow. So, what do you think happens to Tampa Bay?
Oh, they can, what happens if Brady plays half the season, wins all those games?
See, that's what
So
8 and 8 might be enough to get there. Or 8 and 9.
Plus, Brady's good. He doesn't
Yeah.
get hurt. He gets rid of the ball. He's like Drew Brees.
Drew Brees got hurt last year.
He played a lot of games, so.
Okay, let's do the AFC real quick. I'll go. Do you want to go first? So then you can go.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll go first. Let's see. Number 1 seed,
You think it's going to be the Bills, not the Chiefs?
Buffaloes. Yeah, Buffalo. I'm going to give it to Buffalo. 2 will be the Chiefs. 3 will be, let's see.
The North and South are tough.
Yeah. 3. I don't know. Steelers. I'll give it to the Steelers.
You think Big Ben's going to have a good year before his final retirement?
Yeah, he'll have one last good year, and they have Claypool. They have good receivers. They don't. Who's their running back? I don't know who their running back is.
There's Najee Harris. They drafted in the first round out of Alabama.
He's really good. All right. So I like the Steelers even more. Let's see here. 4 seed. Who haven't I done?
Titans.
Oh, it has to be the Titans. Yeah, that's the division I forgot. So the Titans, and then 5. I got some wild cards now, right?
Yep.
So I got to do Ravens.
Yep.
Let's see here. I am going to say the Jets for Poppers
Adelaide says.
and the Chargers.
Great.
I think that's 7 then, right?
Yep.
Those are my picks.
Poppers agrees with one of them. Except
I said the Jets.
Yeah.
She likes the Jets. Don't know why. She's from New Orleans. She should like the Saints.
Screw the Saints. I love the Jets. That wasn't me saying. It was Adelaide. It's not nice, Pup. I love my Saints. Okay, I'll do mine. I'm going to have the 1 seed. I disagree with my...
Illustrious father.
Yeah. I think it's going to be the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are the best team. I think they're the team to beat in the NFL right now. They look like the Patriots in their prime. You got a quarterback who is dominating the league in Patrick Mahomes. He is absolutely a special man. You got a wide receiver like Tyreek Hill. He is awesome. He's the speedy, fastest guy in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. You have Travis Kelce, best tight end in the league. You have a revamped offensive line, so I'm interested to see how that works this year. But if it has the possibility of being very good, they have some very good, talented players on that O-line. Then you have the defense has the ability to be really awesome this year. If Frank Clark can live up to his potential and Chris Jones can be that absolutely amazing player that we know him to be. And then the 2 linebackers they drafted, and Willie Gay Jr. and, oh, dang it, that guy slipped my mind. But if they turn out to be really good, that could be a really good linebacker core. And then obviously you have some insane safeties in Juan Thornhill, Daniel Sorensen, and obviously the Honey Badger himself and Tyrann Mathieu. And then a little bit worried about corner 2. But you got L'Jarius Sneed, and L'Jarius Sneed looked awesome his rookie year, and I expect him to get better this year. I think the Chiefs are the team to beat in the AFC. Now, the number 2 team is, in fact, the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I think it's hard to disagree. Josh Allen, in my opinion, might win MVP this year. I think it's going to be between him, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes like last year. But Josh Allen was amazing last year. I expect him to continue that this year. The Bills have some pretty amazing playmakers. Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley, Gabriel Davis. And then you have, at running back, you have a 3-headed monster in Devin Singletary, Matt Breida, and Zach Moss. They each bring something dynamic to the table. I'm actually kind of excited to see how those snaps get split up. And then at tight end, I'm a little bit worried. Dawson Knox, he had a great rookie year. Last year was not great. He had a little bit of sophomore slump. Excited to see how he does in his third year in the NFL. Offensive line should be good, just like last year. The defense has the possibility of being really awesome. I think A.J. Epinesa could take a step up this year. And Gregory Rousseau has looked phenomenal as a rookie in the regular season. Plus, you bring back Starr to get that inside taken care of. Ed Oliver is really good. And then I think they have the most underrated linebacker core in the entire NFL with Tremaine Edmonds, A.J. Klein, and Matt Milano. Those are three of really strong linebackers, really good, solid starting linebackers in the NFL. You got Tre'Davious White as a lockdown corner. I mean, this has a possibility of being one of the best defenses in the NFL and one of the best offenses. So I think they're the biggest threats of the Chiefs right now. Then at number 3 seed, I'm actually going to put the Indianapolis Colts. I think Carson Wentz is going to be healthy at some point. I don't know when it's going to be, but when he gets in charge of that offense, you got Frank Reich, Carson Wentz magic going on in Indianapolis. You have Zach Pascal, you have T.Y. Hilton, but that's not the players I'm most excited about. You got Jonathan Taylor, who is, in my opinion, he was the best rookie back last year. I understand J.K. Dobbins had a claim to that role. He had a really great end of the year, but Jonathan Taylor was so good last year, guys. He was so awesome if you watch the Colts, and he has the ability to be a bell cow back, but not only that, you have Marlon Mack as a backup on that team. That is how good the running back room is for the Colts right now. You have Marlon Mack, who's a starter on almost every single NFL team other than this one, and like the Titans, the Panthers, the Saints, like ones with like absolutely star players, but Marlon Mack's awesome. And then you got Nyheim Hines, who brings a little bit more in the passing game than those other two. And then you got tight ends. They have obviously a lot of them, like Cox, Jack Doyle. I could go on and on. Their offensive line's going to be good as long as they get their Pro Bowl guard back. Their defense, I'm a little bit more worried about this year. Last year they had a little bit of a step back. They didn't gain any players that I thought were really great out of free agency. They didn't draft any high defensive players. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but I do think the Colts have the possibility of being really phenomenal this year with Carson Wentz and Frank Reich. Then we got the 4 seed, guys, and that's going to be the North. Honestly, I don't think badly of the Browns either, who I do think are going to win the North. They're favored, and I think there's a reason why. You have Baker Mayfield, you have Nick Chubb, you have Kareem Hunt. When Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt is your 1-2 punch at running back, you obviously have a very good running back room. And then at wide receiver, you got OBJ, you got Jarvis Landry, you have Donovan Peoples-Jones, which I think was a little bit of an underrated player last year. He went off when OBJ was hurt, and then Jarvis Landry went down. He was the number 1 receiver. He really stepped up for them at the end of the year. I love Donovan Peoples-Jones. And then at tight end, they could use a little bit more production. Obviously, Austin Hooper was pretty solid for them last year, but David Njoku really didn't do much, and so I do think they need more tight end production there. Their offensive line was a little bit weaker last year. Their defense has the possibility of being really awesome this year, though. You got Myles Garrett. You got John Johnson III in the secondary. You have Denzel Ward on lockdown. You have all of these really good players on your team. If the defense is not dominant this year, I'd be very surprised. That's why I think the Browns are going to win the North for the first time in a long time for Cleveland. 5 seed, in my opinion. Got to go with my sophomore thing here. I understand last year I missed on it. Normally, a sophomore quarterback makes the playoffs almost every year. Last year was an exception, but you had some of the worst sophomore quarterbacks in the entire league. It's probably only going to be 2 starters of the sophomore quarterbacks, and that's going to be Kyler Murray and Daniel Jones. Drew Lock is benched. You got Dwayne Haskins, who is out of Pittsburgh. He was so bad, he's not even on Pittsburgh's team anymore, I don't think.
They cut him?
I think so.
Oh my, I didn't know that.
So, yeah, I don't think Haskins is going to be in the league very much longer.
In case you were wondering, everything I just said was false. It is 100% on me. When I recorded this, I honestly did think Dwayne Haskins was cut because I saw an article when I was doing some research that a Ohio State quarterback was cut from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And thinking logically, I thought that was J.T. Barrett. I thought it was Dwayne Haskins. Turned out to be J.T. Barrett, and the article was forever ago. So that one's 100% on me, guys, but keep going on the video.
Yeah, so I think I gotta go with my sophomore guys. I think the Chargers have the chance to be really good next year. The defense has the possibility of being elite. If you look at all those awesome players, you got Joey Bosa. Dang it. There's a linebacker out of Oklahoma. I'm forgetting the name of, but he was really good last year. He was a rookie. He did phenomenally well.
His name's Kenneth Murray Jr., idiot.
I don't know how his
Oklahoma.
Out of Oklahoma, I know. I was surprised. He was a first-round pick. I really wanted my Saints to get him, but I don't remember what his name was. He was really good last year, though. And then, dang it, there's so many good players in the Chargers. I don't know how I'm forgetting all of them.
What's the quarterback's name?
Let's go back to the offense. Though you got Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert was the best offensive rookie. He was the offensive rookie of the year last year. He was the best rookie quarterback of all of them, and that includes Joe Burrow, by the way. Even when Joe Burrow was playing at his prime, he looked good with the Bengals. Justin Herbert was just out of this world, insanely good with the Chargers. The thing I'm a little bit worried about with the Chargers is if Austin Eckler goes down, their run game is going to go to hell in a handbasket. It's not going to go well at all. We saw last year what happens when Austin Eckler is not playing for this team. It was so bad. And you're going to have to rely entirely on Justin Herbert. But if Austin Eckler can stay healthy for the entire year, you have an insane receiving core in Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Like, that's a 1-2 punch that not many teams have in the NFL. Then you have, what was it? You have some really good tight ends. You got Jared Cook out of free agency. There's a reason why. He's a very solid player. You have a good offensive line. And it's just the fact is Justin Herbert can win you a lot of games single-handedly. And the defense has the possibility of being elite. That's why I think I have the Chargers at 5. 6, my number 6 team is going to be the Miami Dolphins. I know Adelaide does not want to hear that. Co-host Pupper's arch enemy is the Miami Dolphins, because that's my brother's team and I like messing with them. But the Dolphins has the possibility of being really good if you look at their offseason. Obviously, you have to go on the assumption that Tua Tagovailoa is not a bust. And I understand it's a little bit of a leap, and it's 1 year in the NFL. I feel like that's a lot to judge him on, but obviously he did not look as good as Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert last year. But at the end of the year, he didn't have the dynamic receivers that you had in Cincinnati. I mean, like, for goodness sake, he had T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and I guess no one else. I was thinking Jamar Chase, but no. But, like, he had some dynamic receivers there. Like, at the end of last year for Miami, they had no dynamic receivers. But you look at the receiving core this year, you got Will Fuller, you have Devontae Parker, you have Jakeem Grant, you have Jalen Waddle, you have Preston Williams, Lynn Bowden Jr. I mean, like, these are guys that could be on your practice squad, that could be on anyone else's roster as the number 3 or number 2 receiver. That is how good the depth is for Miami at that wide receiver position right now. Tight end, I'm a little bit worried about outside of Mike Gesicki. I heard Durham Smythe went down with COVID, and he was the number 2 tight end last year. So Mike Gesicki, I think he's going to have a breakthrough year this year, though. He looked awesome in preseason. He was dominating everyone. Running back's a position I'm a little bit worried about, but I feel like they can handle it with running back by committee. You got Myles Gaskin, who I think is a very solid back. You got Malcolm Brown to get your just straight up the middle runs. And, dang it, there's another running back that I really like. I forgot about it, though. But defense obviously has the possibility of being really good. You just have Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, and both of them are lockdown corners, which it makes the defense have a lot of fun. You can bring linebacker blitzes. You can do whatever the heck you want if you're Brian Flores. And this defense, again, has the possibility of being an elite defense this year. The defensive line could be really good. I feel like that's the position I'm most worried about if I'm a Dolphins fan. But I think if Christian Wilkins can step up, this defense could be dominant this year. And then I'll have as the 7th seed, I'm going to have the Titans. I understand a lot of Ravens-Steelers fans are mad at me for not picking them to make the playoffs. That's pretty crazy of me. But to be fair, my father didn't pick the Browns to make the playoffs. So, I mean, the AFC is so good this year. There is going to be at least 2 or 3 really good teams that are going to be left sitting at home, that if they were in the NFC, they'd probably make the playoffs. But I'm picking the Titans because obviously you have Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, and you don't need much more than that, but you got A.J. Brown and Julio Jones as well. Like, honestly, I don't know how you look at that roster and tell me they're not going to make the playoffs. The thing is, for me, though, is I just think the Colts are going to be so dynamic offensively that I feel like they can beat the Titans once or twice, and I feel like the Colts have the possibility of being a dominant team. I think we've already seen what the Titans are capable of doing. I think we saw their max when they were the wild card round, and they made it all the way to the AFC Championship. And I understand that's a good max, but the thing is their offense runs entirely through Derrick Henry, and it's the same thing I have worried about with the Ravens, is if you have one player that is really good, like, honestly, Lamar Jackson's phenomenal, but if there's only one player that is really good, you just focus on that player. And now Tannehill's good enough to be a game manager, but the fact is, a game manager in this stage in the NFL is not a quarterback who can win you a Super Bowl. That's just not something that can happen. The Titans' defense, I think, could be better, but I also don't think they're going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. But I think those are my 14 teams that made the playoffs. This is my father's 14 teams that made the playoffs. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. But hey, everybody, this is GGB, my father, and co-host Pupper saying adios, amigos.